We're here, the year's top 2 stories. The voting on these was actually quite close. So, at number 2, the Department of Justice steps in and announces a formal investigation into the use of force, especially deadly force, by the Albuquerque Police Department. Jim, this comes after some 24 shootings since the beginning of 2010, 17 dead. Are we as journalists ranking this highly because we expect some action, some serious findings by the DOJ, or are we just jumping the gun a little bit here in front of the public?
We're ranking this highly because this has been, there's been some really significant and serious back and forth and push and tug on this issue. Specifically, the city council, the Democratic-led city council in Albuquerque, passed legislation asking that the city go out and request this investigation. Months ago, Republican Mayor R.J. Berry vetoed that legislation. Right. There's this perception of that it's a media issue, it's a media portrayal of the city. It is, with 27 people shot in 2 years, it's a serious question that I think needs to be asked, and the fact that DOJ has decided to step in shows that it is being asked, and we're going to find something.
Sure, absolutely. Steve, it's interesting, you obviously don't live here in Albuquerque, but watching from afar here, a DOJ investigation, when you've tracked these things around the country, they're kind of tough because they announce the things on and then they go dark for a year while they do their investigation.
Right.
So it's difficult to...
Sometimes longer.
Right,
Yeah.
Right, exactly right. But in this case, we've had folks come into this studio to talk about the need for a DOJ investigation, family members and such of victims. What happens now, public perception-wise? We don't know factually what's going to happen. Does this settle an issue sometimes for the public to say, okay, it's on now, finally?
Well, I think it buys some time at least, and it depends on what they come up with. God knows I'd hate to be a cop. That's a terrible, hard job.
Sure.
But that is a lot of shootings.
Yes.
And it is a big deal. The federal government doesn't just go into every town and investigate their police.
That's right.
Departments.
Alexa, it has to be bad, doesn't it? My understanding, you may have worked in other markets where you witnessed some of this as well, a DOJ investigation.
I've never actually been in a place where one happened.
Okay.
No, but yeah, I think it is a testament to the family's statements that there is something to be concerned about here.
Right. Right.
We need to look into it. And they also had another study done, didn't they, about by, I think it was called PERF, that said here are 30 recommendations, do all of these, and they're already doing them, and the DOJ is coming in anyway. So
right.
that is something significant.
Right. We have the famous quote from the DOJ folks, Megan, about they're going to peel the onion to the core and just get right down to it. Gives people a lot of comfort. I bring that up, though, because folks feel like there has not been from this police department a vigorous enough investigation into why these things are happening. Is it a problem? See, let me propose this one to you. One of the mothers that came in here says, look, this is about low expectations. The police department has low expectations of the very citizens they're here to serve. And that allows them to take that extra step. How does that hit you, hitting your ear? What did you make of that?
That's very interesting. I just wonder if some of the things that could be used to remedy this is somehow, having more interaction with the community and the police, break down that, what do they call it, the thin blue line?
That's right. That's right. But as Alexa made clear, that they came out with recommendations that this mayor and this chief Schultz have put into process. Well, and they say this is the solution. We can do this on our own.
One thing that caught my attention in one of the journal stories was something regarding they're going to change. They've been doing training that's more paramilitary related, and I was like, huh.
Right.
That seems like a good idea to change that because again, we go back to some poverty issues and social issues again. Some of these people they're interacting with are mentally ill. They're not getting the services they need. They end up in the criminal justice system. And God help the police when they have to deal with this. I understand that it shouldn't be their job.
Right.
But it defaults to them.
Right.
But then they're reacting from a training that doesn't prepare them for that. There was, when I worked downtown a few years ago, I came downtown one morning and everything was blocked off and they'd shot a kid who had a butter knife.
Oh dear, I remember that one. That was
he
one
was
of
mentally
the 17.
incompetent or something, It's like, so, I don't know, but is there a way to, do they always have to train people to shoot to kill?
It's interesting, I know.
I don't know.
But they have that new person, Jim, on board now for the training Megan just mentioned. They're changing that some old line cops are calling touchy-feely. And they don't like touchy-feely. They like paramilitary because you can control the situation.
And
right?
yeah, what they refer to as touchy-feely is things like communication.
Right.
You know, that's an example of what they're going to focus on.
That's
So
right. Interesting, the pushback, though. That would seem to us, and anybody logical, that would seem like a way to go. But if you're an old-line cop...
certainly, and in some ways, the pushback, I'd almost say, is expected.
Right.
And I say that considering there was a police union survey of the department, and of that, I think they surveyed 456 officers, and of that, they found 18%. This was before the DOJ announced that they were going to do this investigation. 18% said that they thought a DOJ investigation was necessary. Given the fact that at the core, I mean, what this is trying to look at is culture and trying to understand, what motivates collective behavior, not
Right.
Officer A's behavior on X day.
Sure.
I mean, in some ways, I would maybe suggest that's very telling, that maybe the issue that you're looking at is much broader than a single officer's training and his behavior, his or her behavior on a single day.
Right. The other thing about this that's interesting, guys, as we wrap this one up to get to number one here in a second, is the consequences for this chief of police. He may or may not make it to the end of this investigation when you think about it. Now that the pieces are in place and things are moving forward, he's done all he can do. It's out of his hands now, literally, to make changes. He's done all he can do. So we'll see how that all plays out in 2013. So, if you haven't figured out by deduction, elimination, or some other scholarly pursuit, our year's top story is the influence of money in politics. Gone are the days of sleepy state legislative races that Steve Terrell covered years ago. If it's contested now, it's expensive.
Some of them are still sleeping.
That's right, maybe $500,000. In the most extreme cases, Steve, let me start with you on this one. Got to throw this out there on the table, Citizens United and the impact of that. It has rained down on here in New Mexico. It took a bit, took a cycle, but then here it is. Here's the money.
Yeah, and the ironic thing about it, of course, is that this is the first year the campaign spending limitations went in for the candidates. So
Right.
you can only contribute a certain amount to the governor or legislator, whoever you're backing, and it kicked in. That was supposed to solve the problem. Then Citizens United came in, and now we have these huge PACs. There's one huge PAC on both sides. Reform New Mexico now on the Republican side, Patriot Majority on the Democratic side.
Right.
There's always going to be money in politics, and they'll always find a way around it. What I would think would be necessary, and some people give lip service to this and then they don't want to pay for it, is just complete disclosure. If I want to give $1 million to some candidate, let me write my check, but make sure it's, and have good campaign reporting, like has to say who you are, who you work for, and and the Citizens United, there's nothing addressed there in that. That'd be legal and constitutional.
Sure. Lex, I think about the Jennings race, I think about the Sanchez race, a lot of other races. My question, at home, just kind of goofing off talking about these things, how do you spend $200,000 plus in a market like Roswell? I mean, that buys you a whole lot of airtime, a whole lot of ad space in the newspaper down there, mailers. That's so much money. It's incredible to me. So you end up advertising, we end up seeing commercials in the Albuquerque market.
Right.
You see what I mean? To spend the money to get the bleed over. It's a very odd circumstance when you think about it.
Right, and we did interview someone who said that in New Mexico, it's kind of funny, you just cast the net statewide because the markets don't exactly match up with the districts, so you just buy everything you
buy
can
El
in
Paso,
Albuquerque.
you buy Albuquerque.
Right, so I think there's definitely some of that going on. And then
What's been your sense about the changes, though? Any corrosive nature, corrosive results, or is it too early? Anything come to mind as you watch this last cycle?
I think this is what's going to be the most interesting thing about 2013, because I'm a big politics nerd. But the whole argument of Citizens United is that you can give unlimited money to an independent super PAC because it won't corrupt. There's no possible corruption because it's not coordinating with the candidate. I just don't believe it.
Right.
I can't wait to see how it manifests itself, but
Sure.
it's going to happen.
Especially at a local level. I mean, you think about some of the races that are coming, we can only anticipate even more money down the road.
Right.
And how these things happen. So, your ability to fundraise, we talked about in the show as well, it's impactful on the state party chairs who traditionally had to raise a lot of the money here. They don't have to raise as much money now, right? So that's impactful, their jobs. It's very, very interesting. So Jim, let me ask you on this one again. With money being so influential, does this naturally give an advantage to Republicans?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, take as a perfect example, Steve mentioned two real prominent PACs on both sides. Reform New Mexico Now on the Republican side, they spent about $2.2 million in this past cycle. On the Democratic side, Patriot Majority spent about $1.4 million.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, they're spending the money.
Sure.
And I think in a lot of ways, donors are just catching up to this current new style, new manifestation of how to move money from a donor's pocket into the campaign.
Right.
It's a new. I think it's a new way to do it, and as that understanding grows, I think we're going to see it be managed and exploited on both sides.
Here's what bothers me. It's almost like it's Congress, what Jim's describing, Megan, where you have to spend half your time fundraising and the other time legislating or doing what. Do we really want local legislators chasing this kind of money? I mean, it just seems to me it's a corrosive road we're going down here.
I agree with you, Gene. I mean, I think the effect of money in politics we're seeing is very corrosive, and seeing it reach all the way down into states is a little distressing to me. And I think a lot of people feel that way. They want to know what this money is, what does it want?
Right.
Or the people behind it. The money doesn't have
Sure,
say. But I mean, what's the agenda here?
Yeah.
And maybe making it totally transparent is a way to go, but it's it's making people really cynical about the democratic process, and this is not good for the health of a democracy.
And go ahead, Steve.
We forget, back in 2006, how much millions did Bill Richardson raise? It was like that's when they were unlimited. He was getting $100,000 contributions.
13 million
million.
plus,
It was.
sure.
Yeah, so that was that's a lot of money for a governor's race, and he didn't really have that much competition. It's kind of a dry run for his presidential race, but he.
Well, let me ask you the same question as these guys. Again, from your reporter's sense about what money does, what money changes, it's very hard to look forward to 2013 on this, but is there, again, this idea of local guys and women chasing this kind of money just seems unseemly at some level. What do you talk about in the phone conversation? About fixing roads on Main Street? Right, exactly.
Well, they're not even full-time legislature.
Right.
Yeah.
I think also the money chases them. I mean, with some of these emails coming out, they're picking who they want to run, and then they're giving that person the money they need.
Would that count as a corrosive influence?
Certainly, absolutely.
Especially recognizing that the examples we gave, the Jennings race, the Sanchez race, those were leadership positions in a chamber that has been kind of the pivotal point in the governor's agenda. So maybe it's not fair to cast that as the average race. Money did go up for many races, but that really was the Jennings and Sanchez race were, really an exception.
Right. It's interesting to me, Steve, how to think about again when you've got a governor who, to Megan's point about people being cynical, there was a lot of pushback on the outside money for the governor when she came in. Like, what do these people want? And Megan's
her
point.
biggest contributor was the guy from Texas, right?
Exactly, and that started the whole sort of negative chatter about money here in our state.
Well, I'd go back to Richardson.
Okay.
Even his first run, he raised like $8 million, and before then, I think Marty Chavez and Gary Johnson each raised like $2 million apiece or something like that.
So you don't think it's really different now, or do you?
Well, it's different that the super PACs are doing playing a bigger role. But back then, it was like everybody, and he got all sorts, I think 60%, maybe 50 to 60% of his money from out of state.
I see.
So
what did those people want? See, that's an interesting one, too. So there we are. The year's top story right there, but we're not done. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the controversial cuts we made to our list and what the big stories might be for next year.